Hi guys, it's Jamie from Ugly Like Me. I am famous for having multiple sclerosis. I also authored a book for children who love somebody who's sick, especially with multiple sclerosis, named Zoe Bowie Sings Despite All Sad Things, about how my children, I had a 4-year-old and a newborn and this new diagnosis, and it was about how she would sing to get the mad reds out because she just hated my diagnosis and she couldn't stand her little brother. And this first half is not in color, and it's till she starts singing in praise and how she learned from adversity that she starts to come into color. So that book is out there for sale. If you just want it from me, I had a crappy publishing deal, so what I do is I sign it and I go read to children and I give it to them for free. So if you would like it for free, and I can pay for postage, I'm not a rich woman, I will absolutely be honored to do that for you. But today I read a wonderful study at 2:30 in the morning, so I thought I should get it out there to all multiple sclerosis thrivers and hanger-oners, and you know, and even the people who have passed, you know, and their loved ones are here, and it absolutely is hereditary. When I was diagnosed 10 years ago, I was told that it was like lightning striking the same place 3 times because my sister and my first cousin had it, and actually 2 more cousins have it now. So they said that that would be like lightning striking the same place 3 times. And if you look up lightning, especially in Chicago, lightning is likely to strike the same place 3 times, and I wish that I knew that then. But now you'd be hard-pressed to find an article online, and I am the proud writer of many of those articles, that states that there is a heavy hereditary link. So I thought that this might help you, even if you lost somebody, and my heart goes out to you. I've lost many friends. You know, this job, we're sort of a global, when we write, we're a global office, and I've lost many friends from it, friends who are just full of life, even in wheelchairs, jumping out of planes, and some chose to die with death with dignity, and I honor their choice, and I honor them always. So this is great news, but kind of a little creepy and not something you want to really talk about. But Harvard figured out that there were 2 things that people with multiple sclerosis, you can probably hear my son on his gaming thing freaking out. We do have parameters though, and he started crying. So don't think that I'm like one of those loser moms that just like lets their kid hang in the corner. So Harvard came out with this study, and they noticed 2 things: that people with multiple sclerosis, when they were children, had threadworms, also known as pinworms. Very exciting. I'll get to that in a second. And also they had the Epstein-Barr virus. So now they are coming up with a vaccine to prevent either or of them. But and if that is true and not hurtful, you know, we never know with vaccinations. People have said to me, like with the HPV vaccination, you know, it's so old, it's been out there for 10 years. 10 years in the grand scheme of life, the grand scope, is a blip in history. You will not know what other cancers it causes, you know, for a few decades. So I know that I don't want my daughter to get cervical cancer. I know that most of the population has HPV. It's considered a sexually transmitted disease, but just know that if you have it, most people do. So you're not some, you know, I get bothered when people mention that because I feel like it puts a stigma on them, like they're a whore or they did something wrong, or sexual shame. And sex is beautiful and there's nothing to be ashamed about, and you know, as long as it's done in a loving, great way, it can be amazing. So we don't want to go there. So, but I do want to explain what a threadworm or a pinworm is. And a threadworm or a pinworm, they go into your gut, and they typically are spread from people who go to the bathroom, they wipe their arse, and they don't wash their hands, and they have long fingernails. So notice mine are not long. And what they do is they get a part of the fecal matter under their nails. They can touch somebody and then touch their mouth, touch their nose. In comes the pinworms. I believe that a woman pinworm, a female pinworm, a woman, I don't know what to call her, she can lay 10,000 eggs at one time. So the way to know this now, 50% of, according to this one thing, you can check that, and I could be wrong, 50% of the population has pinworms or threadworms. I didn't realize they were the same thing until I did my research this morning, but there are tablets that you can take to get rid of them. Typically they come out at night, so if your bunghole, to be a nicer word, is itchy at night, typically they'll come out and you'll see little white threads moving. Or if your vagina is itchy and you look, you'll see, especially at night, when it's more itchy and aggravated, for some reason it's a night thing, you'll see them come out, and they're about this big. Some can be this big, but the little ones come out at night and they're this big, and you can see them move. So what you want to do is you want to take tablets, and you can chew them and put sugar if, you know, the kids think that they're nasty. But what you do is the entire family must take them, and then you must clean all of the sheets and the bedding and all that stuff, which is very exhausting when you have multiple sclerosis. So I might beg my husband to do that. And although everybody swears they don't have pinworms here, I do know that my children are at risk for getting this disease from me. And when I'm gone, I don't want them to think I didn't love them. Doesn't this look like I got a bump on my head? I want to make sure. So, you know, if preventing one of those, you know, means they don't have to get a vaccination, I don't know if it means that. I will do that, you know, just to, and I don't have to be here for them. I just, you know, for them to know that I love them and that I did everything I could. And it's not just smoothies and green living and growing our own food. It's pinworms, you know, worms coming out of your arse or your vagina, which is pretty exciting. So I'm being sarcastic, but I just want to let you know it's actually very exciting news, because multiple sclerosis sucks. My prognosis is to be quadriplegic, and I can handle that. And I know that because when I saw my husband have a seizure and they threw a cancer diagnosis at him, and me holding him, and I remember he was hanging over the, and you can read this on uglylikeme.typepad.com. I think it was, I named it, it wasn't him, it wasn't them, but he said call the cops, and for the first time ever I had a pump in me. I was so exhausted because he was at the US Open. He works for the USGA, and he was there all month, so I was absolutely exhausted, and I was still teaching, and I was a mess. And he said, call the cop. He called 911. I can't breathe. And my husband's never like that. He doesn't take medicine. He stuck up for this woman who was being targeted by these PCP guys because they said she cut them off or something. She was pregnant. She had children. My husband pulled over, blocked her, told her to run, and he got his whole face bashed in. He can't see out of his, I think it's his left eye. It's sort of screwed up. So that's just the person he is, and he didn't take any medicine. So for him to say, you know, call 911 was a huge deal. And I kept getting him, he kept passing out, so I put a pillow under his thing, and I said, babe, just just lay down, just rest. I just have to open the door for the cops. And he kept going, I have to go to the bathroom, and he's a proud man. And when I went, I ran, and as fast as I could. I don't know how I got this, you know, sort of surge of adrenaline, and I opened the door, and he was gone. And there were two doors, actually, that I could get to, but I could see the cops shining lights in. So I know he's a proud man, so I went to the bathroom, and I found him with the bathroom, the shower curtain, I'm sorry, cognitively, I just lose my words, wrapped around his head, and he was seizing. And he was in his underwear, and we all know what happens to people when they seize. They lose control of all their faculties. And I lifted him up, and I got that thing around his neck. I don't know how I did that, and I thank God every day for that. And when we got him on the floor and we got him stabilized, I asked him, you know, please let me just clean him up. And he couldn't speak at this time, but his eyes were open, and he just looked at me with such love. And I just remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, if anything ever happened to him, you know, and that was the moment that I realized, like, I am happy to take on MS as long as it's not him, and as long as it's not my babies. And this is hope for you guys, and us guys, and us girls, and us gals, and us children, and us humans. So keep it up, Harvard. And the pinworms, they might be embarrassing, but just know you can order the tablets online, but they're very expensive if you do that. They're like $35 without shipping. Or you can get them at Walmart, which many of us kind of boycott because it depends on how you feel about guns and things like that. But it's only like $6.97 there. So, but also you might want to do research into this. I did read that tablets will not fix it, and within 6 weeks it'll remedy itself. But the more I watched on YouTube, I've been up since 2:30. I don't know what time it is now, but it's like 1:30. I was more convinced by the YouTube people who shared their stories and about how they did the tablets and watched everything. So I think just to be safe, and you know, if the cycle they said will go away in 6 weeks, but you don't know what new female worm, I don't know what to call them, will lay another 10,000 eggs, you know. And just make sure that your children, everybody should have trim nails, and they should wipe, they should wipe, that would be a good thing. They should wipe carefully, and they should really clean, wash their hands. And when I taught, I would always, what did I make them sing? Happy birthday. So, you know, that's long enough, and to go up to the wrist. And you should be fine. The biggest pain in the ass is washing all the linens. And when you can't walk and you have to go down 3 stories and keep doing it, it sucks ass. But you can also, when you wash your pillows, take off the pillowcases, put the pillows into the dryer for 20 minutes at a time. It'll kill any dust mites that might make you sick, and it will absolutely help. If there's fungus, lots of us wash our hair and then we lay on the back of our pillows, and it makes us very sick if we have MS. So it's good for that, and it's got to be good for the pinworms. That said, very, very interesting story. Talking about pinworms with my 13-year-old daughter, Zoe. So that's what you got to do, right? If you love them and you want them to be safe. So be well and be kind to one another, and love your family. Love your family. And when you get really sad, just remember, like, thank God it isn't them, because I would die if I saw them going through that. What I saw my husband endure was pretty insane. And they now don't think he had cancer, and he was told not to ride his bike. He's an avid cyclist, and we were all, when he got back from the hospital, walking on eggshells and confused and scared. So I put everybody into the car, and I drove to Easton, Pennsylvania. We live right outside New York City, and we financed the bike of his dreams, because I said, baby, if you're going down doing something you love. And yeah, and now he's an amazing cyclist. Not as cool as Peter Sagan, but pretty close. Okay, peace be with you, and be well, and you know, don't be selfish. Sometimes we get so self-involved that we forget to love the people outside us who don't understand. So if you feel like people don't understand, tell them, because they're not mind readers. And the moment that I realized that was the moment my marriage just sort of blossomed. So be well. I love you. I don't need to know you to love you.